Today, you are going to discover that there are 5 categories of products in the supermarket dairy aisle that carry the word cheese on the packaging, but technically are not cheese in the traditional sense that we learned from our grandparents. And before you think that this is a denunciation or a conspiracy theory, it is not. It is simply about understanding what legislation allows, what the industry produces, and how you can make more informed choices without needing to spend a fortune. We have grown up believing that everything on the refrigerated shelf, with colorful packaging and a well-known brand name, is automatically pure cheese. But the reality is more complex. There are legal categories of processed dairy products, food preparations, and derivatives that may contain milk in the composition, but have gone through so many industrial modifications that the nutritional profile and the food matrix have completely changed. This does not necessarily mean they are bad or prohibited. It only means they are different, and you deserve to know exactly what you are taking home. From Consumer Association research to laboratory analyses on excess sodium, we will understand together what separates a traditional cheese from a modern industrial product, and how you can identify this by reading the label with attention. Because information is the only tool that guarantees you are making the right choice for you and your family, without depending on marketing or vague promises. Before starting the list, it is important to understand how we got here, because this explains a lot about what you find in the market today. In the past, cheese was an artisanal product made on a small scale. You took fresh milk, you added rennet, you let coagulation happen, you pressed the mass, you aged it for weeks, and there you had cheese. This process requires time, constant refrigeration, and high-quality ingredients. With the growth of cities and the increased demand for practical products, the food industry had to develop alternatives that could be produced on a large scale, transported over long distances, and had a longer shelf life without spoiling. Thus were born processed cheeses, dairy preparations, and industrialized derivatives. Food technology allowed milk and its derivatives to be transformed into stable, microbiologically safe, and accessible products. This is not bad in itself. It is industrial evolution. The problem starts when the consumer does not understand the difference between these categories and buys a product believing they are getting something else. Legislation establishes clear standards for each type of product. A fresh cheese must follow a specific recipe. A processed cheese has another legal definition. A food preparation has yet another. The challenge is that the majority of people do not read the complete label, do not know these technical terms, and end up being guided only by the packaging and price. The first category that deserves your attention is processed sliced cheese. Those that come in practical packages, already cut into perfect slices, and dominate refrigerators. These products are legally classified as processed cheese. This means they are manufactured from real cheeses that were produced previously and then go through a remelting process, with the addition of ingredients like emulsifiers, stabilizers, and acidity regulators. The technical objective is to create a product with uniform texture that melts in a controlled way, has a longer shelf life, and is easy to slice industrially. To achieve this, the industry adds substances like phosphates and citrates and adjusts the amount of water and fat to reach the desired consistency. The final result is a product that has milk in the composition, but nutritionally is different from a traditional aged cheese. The amount of natural dairy protein tends to be lower. The sodium concentration is significantly higher for preservation and flavor enhancement. If you are looking for practicality for a quick sandwich, it fulfills this role. But it is not cheese in the pure sense. It is a derivative product that was reformulated to meet industrial needs. The second category that causes confusion is industrial creamy spreadable cheese. Many people treat this product as if it were just a creamier cheese, but technically it is not a traditional aged cheese. It is classified as a dairy derivative that goes through intense processing, where milk is heated, mixed with cream, emulsifiers, stabilizers, and a considerable amount of water to create that texture. The fundamental difference is that traditional cheese is a product where milk was concentrated through coagulation and whey removal, resulting in a dense matrix rich in protein. Industrial spreadable cheese has a much higher proportion of water, which dilutes the protein and calcium concentration per portion. Furthermore, the addition of stabilizers is necessary to maintain creaminess and prevent the product from separating during storage. When you compare the nutritional table, it becomes clear that these are very different foods. The industrial product has less protein, more sodium, and a list of ingredients that goes beyond milk. It is a convenience product developed to be spreadable, but moves away from the classic definition of cheese. The third category is even less known to the final consumer, but directly affects what you eat when you order a pizza or a burger in a restaurant chain. We are talking about food preparations with cheese flavor sold for the food service industry. These products do not arrive with an individual label to you, so you have never read the ingredients, but they are there, used every day. Investigations have revealed that large suppliers sell preparations used as if they were cheese, but which in their composition can have water and vegetable fat as main ingredients, with flavorings to simulate the taste. This is permitted by legislation if the product is sold correctly to the industry, but the final consumer eating the pizza does not have access to this information. The result is that you think you are eating mozzarella, when actually you are eating an industrial preparation that melts nicely for the photo. Vegetable fat, usually palm oil, replaces milk fat because it is cheaper and more stable. Modified starch helps the texture. When you see cheese with an intense orange color or a rubbery texture that stretches without breaking, it is the result of an industrial formulation. The fourth category requiring your attention is industrial grated cheese, those practical bags for pasta. They seem harmless, but analyses found sodium levels much higher than declared on the label. Why so much sodium? Sodium preserves the product by increasing shelf life, enhances flavor to compensate for lower quality cheese, and can indicate the presence of additives. Furthermore, many industrial grated cheeses have in the ingredient list not only cheese, but also starch, which works as an anti-caking agent to prevent the product from clumping. We also find preservatives and flavor enhancers. Pure grated cheese should simply be aged in grated cheese. When you add all these other ingredients, the product becomes a preparation based on grated cheese. Nutritionally, you are consuming less real cheese per portion. The practical solution is to buy a whole piece of cheese and grate it at home. The taste is incomparably superior because the essential oils are preserved. The fifth and last category is especially problematic because it involves broken trust. We are talking about cheeses advertised as light or with less fat. Studies analyzed various cheeses sold as light in laboratories and compared real values with what was declared. The results were revealing. Some brands had much more fat than declared. Others had less protein than promised. This is serious because people buying light cheese generally do so for health. When the label lies, these people are deceived. Moreover, light cheese often costs more. The technical problem is that to remove fat while keeping texture, the industry replaces fat with water and texturizing gums. So you pay more for a diluted product. Now that you know these 5 categories, the question is, how to protect yourself from all this in front of the supermarket shelf? There is a simple method. The first rule is to always read the ingredient list, not just the name on the package. The list is organized in descending order of quantity. If the first ingredient is milk, it is an excellent sign. If you find water, vegetable fat, starch, or flavorings before milk, this clearly indicates that you are not buying a traditional cheese. The second rule is to remain attentive to the presence of vegetable fat. True cheese is made exclusively with milk fat. If there is vegetable oil in the composition, it is not pure cheese. The third rule is to compare the nutritional table. A real hard cheese has a good amount of protein. If the product has very little, it means there is a lot of water or other ingredients diluting the concentration. Likewise, if sodium is absurdly high, be suspicious. The fourth rule is to be wary of excessive practicality and very long shelf lives. Cheese is a perishable product. If a product promises to last months without refrigeration, or has a perfectly uniform color batch after batch, it is the result of intense industrial processing. And the fifth rule, whenever possible, prefer buying cheese in a whole piece and cutting it at home. This guarantees that you are consuming real cheese without unnecessary additives. It is important to make clear that this text is not a generalized attack on the food industry. The objective here is simply to inform you about the differences between product categories. There is room in the market for all types, as long as the consumer is not misled. When you understand what technical terms on the label mean, when you know how to read the ingredient list, you become a powerful consumer who does not depend on marketing. You make decisions based on facts, and that is worth gold.